On day 11 of our 2024 Alaska vacation, we travel deep into Wrangell-St. Elias National Park and Preserve and explore Kennecott Mine's National Historic Landmark. Wrangell-St. Elias National Park and Preserve is the largest national park in the United States. It covers the Wrangell Mountains and a large portion of the St. Elias Mountains, which include most of the highest peaks in the United States and Canada. The park's high point is Mount St. Elias at 18,008 feet, the second tallest mountain in both the United States and Canada. The park has been shaped by competing forces of volcanism and glaciation, with its tall mountains uplifted by plate tectonics. Mount Wrangell and Mount Churchill are among major volcanoes in these ranges. The center of the park and preserve, the boomtown of Kennecott, exploited one of the world's richest deposits of copper from 1903 to 1938. The abandoned mine buildings and mills comprise a National Historic Landmark District. We made the 126-mile trip to Kennecott in a van with 12 other passengers. It's the trip into the interior of Wrangell-St. Elias. Probably a long, straight road going there. Once we were on the Edgerton Highway, the road appeared to go straight to the Wrangell mountain range. Near the small town of Chitina, the road became the McCarthy Road. We crossed the Chitina Bridge over the Copper River near its confluence with the Chitina River. Further along the road, we saw a small pond with a beaver lodge. And there's a beaver lodge here in Wrangell-St. Elias. We made our first stop of the day at the Tusculana River Bridge. St. Elias, and this over here is a famous bridge. I can't remember the name of it, but it was what the original railroads used to go over. So that's the bridge. And here's the view from the top of the bridge. Located at about mile 20 of the McCarthy Road, the one-lane, 525-foot-long Tusculana River Bridge is a vertigo-inducing 238 feet above the bottom of the deep, sheer-sided rocky gorge. Originally a steel railroad trestle bridge, this route into Alaska's Wrangell-St. Elias National Park is an engineering achievement. This cantilevered bridge was constructed in 2 brutally cold months in 1910. The view of the steep-sided, rocky Black Spruce Canyon and the silty rushing Tusculana River far below is breathtaking. On the east side of the bridge is a pull-out with interpretive panels and restrooms. McCarthy Road abruptly ends at the Kennecott River. All visitors must park their vehicles at the end of the road and walk across the bridge to gain access to Kennecott.
Here we are at the footbridge to get across the river. We're going to pick up a shell and pick up into Kennecott.
The Kennecott River is a glacially birthed torrent, and the best place to watch the action is from the footbridge. The Kennecott River Bridge provides access to McCarthy Town and Kennecott Mines National Historic Landmark. A shuttle bus to Kennecott, 5 miles away, is available on the east side of the bridge.
Here's footbridge. This is the truck called rigor mortis. The guy used this for years, from 53 into the 90s, out of odd bits and pieces.
In 1953, a strapping young man by the name of Jim Edwards settled in this area. He came in by cat train over the rails, built a house, and started a family. In need of a vehicle, he assembled a bush truck out of road-tested parts and gave it the name Rigor Mortis. This one-of-a-kind truck served him well for many decades in the McCarthy and Kennecott areas of Alaska, and was last run in the 1990s. Rigor Mortis is on display as a tribute to Jim's ingenuity and resourcefulness as a local pioneer. A 5-mile shuttle bus ride took us to Kennecott Mines National Historic Landmark. In the summer of 1900, prospectors Clarence Warner and Tarantula Jack Smith were exploring the east edge of the Kennecott Glacier. As they drew closer to the limestone-greenstone contact, along which U.S. Geological Survey geologist Oscar Rohn had predicted copper would be found, they were amazed by the magnificent green cliffs of exposed copper. Samples from their discovery, the Bonanza Mine outcrop, revealed up to 70% pure chalcocite, one of the richest copper deposits ever found. Mining engineer Stephen Birch in Alaska, to look for investment opportunities for the wealthy Havemeyer family, began buying up shares of the Bonanza claim. However, without a way to transport the copper to market, it was worthless. Some said building a railroad from the coast across mountains, powerful rivers, and moving glacier would be impossible. Others offered a glimmer of hope. The Havemeyers collaborated with J.P. Morgan and the Guggenheim family, forming the Alaska Syndicate, to build a railroad and develop the mines. In the fall of 1907, the Alaska Syndicate hired Michael J. Henney, builder of the White Pass and Yukon Railroad. For the next 4 years, his crews worked relentlessly, building rail beds and bridges through difficult terrain at temperatures down to 40 degrees below zero. At the time, Stephen Birch was in Kennecott, developing and mining claims. By hauling an entire steamship, piece by piece, over the mountains from Valdez to be reassembled on the Copper River, he was able to bring equipment in by dog sled, horse, and steamship to begin mining ore even before the railroad was finished. The first train left Kennecott in 1911, just 10 days after the railroad was completed, filled with $250,000 worth of copper.
Okay, here are the Kennecott Mines National Historic Landmark in Wrangell-St. Elias National Park. There's the glacier out there. And here we are at Kennecott. This is the lodge. We're walking down the street. This is in Wrangell-St. Elias National Park. This is another view of this valley over here that the glacier runs into.
This was our first full view of Kennecott Glacier. Here we can see the school from the back. This is a view of the west bunkhouse.
And there's some probably dirty glacier way back, and then sediment all around.
What amazed us was what looked like mine tailings was actually a layer of silt, sand, and gravel and rock atop the shifting mass of the glacier. This debris, known as glacial till, is plucked from further up the valley by smaller glaciers flowing down the mountains, merging to form the Kennecott Glacier. As the glacier melts, the debris accumulates on the ice.
And we're heading on the historic mill tour. That was the butcher's method as well as the morgue.
Here is the refrigeration plant attached to the west bunkhouse. This is the general store, warehouse, historic post office, and theater.
So there's the post office. And there we are looking up towards the mill.
Now you all can probably tell there are a few different building styles here today in Kennecott. There are some buildings that are really nicely restored and turned into exhibits, like the post office general store building. They look like they're in great shape. And that's because the Park Service has done a lot of work to kind of reconstruct those buildings and create exhibits that we can walk through, see what they would have looked like back in the day.
The small building in the foreground was the train depot.
So that when the train did get here in 1911,
This is the old sawmill, which was kind of destroyed by the elements.
These are the ruins of the sawmill. Some of the train rails are dumped on the side here.
It's part of the glacier, and the dirt you see on top, there's ice below it about a foot below. There's the old train station.
The brown building in the center is the old hospital, and bunkhouses are to the right. The building in the front is the National Creek bunkhouse, and the building in the back is the East bunkhouse.
House was destroyed, and we'll talk about that as we get up the hill. But we do still have the hospital with us today. That's this building right there. Pretty state-of-the-art.
This is part of the leaching plant. To the right is the mill complex, and to the left is the leaching plant. Here we are looking up to the top of the mill from the bottom.
This building used to be the hospital here.
This is the general manager's office.
The company employed a lot of Native people here along the railroad.
Here we have some old abandoned mining equipment. We are now at the top of the hill and ready to enter the mill. Here you can see the cables for the aerial tramways which delivered copper ore via buckets.
Keep coming on in so everyone else behind you can get into the building as well. There you go.
As part of the restoration process, a lot of new wood was needed in order to properly stabilize the 14-story tall mill. As a result, we had to wear hard hats. As can be seen here, there is still a lot of rehabilitation that needs to be done to the building. From the top of the mill, one has a dramatic view of the glacier field.
There's the town from the top of the mill building. We're really high up, 200 feet, I guess. And there's the glacier.
This spot offers a great view of the Kennecott Glacier as well as the Root Glacier about 2 miles distant.
Shafts, we'll call them, are old ore storage units. Pretty frequently, especially in the wintertime, the train would be delayed. It was not uncommon.
Here is an ore storage unit.
Here we've got the lighter colored faded stuff on most of the walls. That's all old original wood that's been here for about 100 years. And then we have much newer stuff. That's that darker colored wood with all the little
cooler up here.
And there's the glacier again.
Here are the chutes in which the ore was dropped in to go to the crushers below.
with two big rollers inside, rolling against each other, like so. Both of these machines weigh 25 to 30 tons, absolutely massive, and they're actually sitting right on the hillside below us, right on the ground.
The rollers would crush the ore into marble-sized pieces.
You can move down the other way as well, so that these last two people can get in as well. Awesome. All right, anyone back there who can't see this thing?
Just 2 of us.
Okay. Excellent. All right, so this is where we really get into the bulk of our sorting process. At this point, everything coming through here is coming through this fine, gravelly, sandy mixture.
By now, the ore had been crushed down into a gravelly mixture. A series of sieves was used in order to separate and size these pieces.
Building the building at an angle here was not only convenient based on the hillside, but convenient for that gravity-based sorting mechanism.
Stella?
Yeah.
So they didn't have ear protection.
That little platform up there, we should name it. Alright. These shaker tables are ported in the exact same way as the shaker tables above us, so
All the finely crushed ore is now introduced to the gravitation table as a water slurry. The heavier copper falls into the ruts in the table, and the lighter limestone is washed away. The heavier ore is then washed into a giant settling tank and then placed into sacks for the train.
yeah, and it's still under construction. You can see they're doing some work over here. It's pretty much a constant project, like this roof.
And I guess they're still doing some stabilizing in here. This is the building where they used ammonia to retrieve ore, or copper from the ore.
The waste material, which still had substantial copper in it, was poured into giant leaching tanks and covered with ammonia. The ammonia dissolved the copper out of the limestone. By these combined processes, 98% of the copper was removed from the ore. Our final stop of the day was the Gillahina Trestle. This wooden train trestle was originally 890 feet long and 90 feet high, requiring 500,000 board feet of timber. It was completed in 8 days in January 1911 as part of the Copper River Northwestern Railway to transport copper ore from Kennecott to Cordova. Mary and I thank you for watching Day 11 of our 2024 Alaskan vacation. We hope you'll join us for Day 12, where we travel from the Copper River Princess Wilderness Lodge to boarding the Sapphire Princess in Whittier, Alaska for the cruise portion of our tour. We start with a bus trip to the Port of Valdez, making stops at Worthington Glacier and Horsetail Falls. In Valdez, we board a catamaran to cross Prince William Sound, making a stop along the way at Blackstone Glacier before settling into our room aboard the Sapphire Princess in Whittier.